have a star-studded panel, and we're talking about a word that we often use in the world of marketing and brands, culture. But specifically, we're talking about how brands move at the speed of culture. And the best part about our panel is that we have different representations, different contexts in which culture shows up. Now, I think about culture through a sociological lens, that culture is an operating system that governs how a group of people behave in the world based on how they see the world. And if that be the case, the question we have to ask ourselves is, what does it mean to operate at the speed of culture? What does it mean to go to market at the speed of culture? I'll start the panel with that. As we say at church, whoever feels moved upon, talk to us. Jonathan, give it to us.
You're first talking to the wrong Jew about going to church, but that's okay.
It's all good.
Speed of culture, I think we just had one of the best examples of speed of culture recently. Hidden Valley Ranch. Fans are coming to the U.S. for World Cup, falling in love with with ranch dressing. TSA says you can't travel home with ranch dressing, too big. What does Hidden Valley Ranch do? They create TSA compliant packets of Hidden Valley Ranch, and you can get enough that you can make a whole bottle. They moved so fast, it is moving at the speed of culture.
So they move with the demands and wants of a given group of people by identifying the points of friction that they have to kind of get over.
Yep.
And do it in a way that feels relevant for those folks.
And of course, ranch dressing is the culture of America, I guess.
That's a good shout. Angie, give us your take and an example, if you would, of a brand moving at the speed of culture.
I feel like F1 has, it's obviously a long history in a sport, right? But now they have so much relevance for new audiences where they're creating experiences for people like me who may not be a race car driver, but I love the experience of how all of the systems are made. And I just think that they have found themselves very culturally relevant and created experiences to support that for all new types of audiences.
Yeah, so having proximity to the things that matter to people and being able to meet them in those moments, not just removing points of friction, but meeting them in the contextually relevant moments. Totally. Billy, talk to us.
Yeah, I would say we have a saying at Virgin Voyages, we want speeding tickets, not parking fines. And
hold on, drop that again.
Yeah, so speeding tickets, not parking fines.
I love it.
And what that really means to us is we're removing the barriers to entry and those friction points that prevent us from executing on a brilliant idea. And so when for example, like I lead the AI transformation function for Virgin Voyages, and I'm one of the heads of marketing.
Yeah.
Usually that sits in a technology org, but the problem that we had with trying to make all of that change happen was it was in an organization that was built on restrictions and following rules and process. And to be fair, like that's not how you're going to get change to happen.
Yeah.
And so we broke that mold. And actually what we've seen as a product of it is ideas and kind of the innovation across the org is now coming from lots of different places. It kind of freed people from the shackles of doing things the right way and doing it in the way that we want to see for the future of our company.
So first of all, that's a bar, by the way. This idea of like we want speed tickets, not parking violations. Write that down. That's a good one. But make sure you give him credit for that one. The other thing I think is actually worth mentioning here is that what you have defined is the marketing remit. I think somewhere along the line, we found ourselves reducing marketing to marketing communications, right? But Jerome McCarthy told us in 1956 that marketing consists of product, price, place, and promotion, the 4 Ps that we have all learned about. So product is a part of the marketing mix. You have a part in that, not just the way in which we communicate it. Now, Mello, one would argue that you have moved at the speed of culture because you have moved culture forward. But considering the media company that you have built, you are now a part of the process of bringing brands to the cultural discourse. How do brands move at the speed of culture? And give us an example that's not one of your own. Give us an example of how brands have done this.
For me, when I think about speed and culture, it's like I look at speed. To me, speed is not the actual skill in all of that. It's knowing who you are for me. Like that's the skill for me. So if I know who I am, then I'm able to use the speed to get me where I want to go, because speed is just going to get you there faster to where you really want to go. But you can go fast, you can use speed, but if you don't know who you are, then you just speeding for no reason. But having the skill set to know who you are and understand that and comprehend that allows you to go at the speed that you actually really want to go to, because you're not relying on certain aspects. You're relying on actual facts and data and information and conversation. So I have a different kind of concept when it comes to speed and culture. Speed is great in culture, and we are moving culturally at a fast, rapid pace. But also a lot of things is about, who are you? Do you really know who you are?
Lauryn Hill said it best. How you gonna win if you ain't right within? Like, you gotta know who you are to know where you're gonna go and with whom you want to go there. So let's stay with you for a second there. So you think about coming from, and we would be remiss not to say, congratulations to the New York Knicks.
Congratulations to the Knicks, for
yes,
sure.
Yes. That's worth more than that, y'all.
Absolutely.
That's like pause for applause, right?
That's a cultural.
It's a global crowd. Right?
Yeah, but come on, it's the Knicks. So
Everybody knows Knicks in 5.
that's right. Knicks. So how are you helping the brands that you work with, coming from the sports side, now on the media side, not only move quickly to not get parking tickets, but more importantly, move deliberately or intentionally so that they're not confusing speed with direction?
Well, there's a lot of brands out there that just want to go speed and just want to go fast. And a lot of times they don't know who they are. So they got to backtrack and pull back the layers to really identify who they are. Or they have to go talk to other people outside as third parties for that third party to identify who that brand is. So you can go at speed. You can have the economics to go at a fast pace. But if you don't know who you are, if from a small brand to a big brand, then you're gonna have a problem. And somewhere in between. And then on the flip side of that, there's brands that actually know who they are, but don't want to go fast, right? They're cool with just going at their pace. So it's a balance that I try to talk to brands about, of knowing, identifying who you are first and telling me who you are so I can help you get to those people, the culture that you're actually trying to get to. And it could be easy, it could be simple, it could be conversation, it could be community, it can be getting in this room right here and trying to talk it out, right? Because we don't do that often. And there's some brands who are just speeding. Then when you look at campaigns, it doesn't add up to who they are. So you ask the question culturally, like, damn, why would that person sign with that brand? This
Right.
doesn't feel right.
Don't make no sense.
We go through that all the time. So it's really a balance that you actually have to have.
It's authenticity. You've got to be authentic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're a 115-year-old company, and we've had to reinvent ourselves many times. But the fundamentals of who IBM is, we've stayed true to that. We've been authentic, and that's all we try and do right now. Is we got to stay authentic to who we are.
I would say just
Oh,
one
okay,
thing
go
to
ahead.
add. I think to Adam, to your point, it's also important to know who you're not. Right. So as a brand, coming to the table and having really defined values of where you should show up, what you should speak to, and what actually you should stay out of the conversation with is also important, right? You can only move quickly if you have the confidence to know who you are, but it can really help you get there if you clearly define what you're not.
I mean, Angie, this feels obvious. It's like we're not unearthing new ground here, but yet so many brands fumble, whether it's the brand marketers or even the agency marketers. Why is this so hard? Like, I mean, Carmelo just say, know who you are, know who you aren't, to Billy's point, and just be that. Super easy. Why the hell is this so difficult?
I think a lot of brands are so focused on the brand guideline book and having control over the narrative versus leaving enough space to be agile to allow the culture moments to happen. And I think as we're designing experiences in our work every day, it's designing them to be flexible enough, not that at the speed of culture, but the flexibility to meet culture where it is right now. And so I know in a previous role, I was really focused on building community at a tech company, and our brand leaders were so focused on making sure the pull-up banners were the right color and that the slides have the right message versus gosh, it's great if people are in a room talking about us. We don't have to control the narrative. We just need to allow flexibility for the narrative to be talked about.
I mean, this is the conversation where Jonathan and I are together earlier this morning. This is the human part we're talking about here, right?
100%.
So you, Jonathan, at IBM, Billy, like you all are in organizations that have like long lead times in what you do, right? We talk about ships. Like it seems like agility doesn't feel like it would be in like the worlds you all operate, 100+ year old company. How do you all think about agility inside your organizations? I mean, on the tech side, I imagine it's there, but when you have like tens of thousands of people who work together, trying to move quickly, trying to get some uniformity in who they are, how do you operationalize that? How do you ensure that the backstage is at its most optimum presentation so that the front stage is as well?
You want to go first?
Yeah, I would say, interestingly enough, the ship is just a framework, right? It's pieces of steel, but the experience that you have on the ship is actually really malleable. For example, we have a ship that just launched in Alaska. And so taking the ship and we modified it to have better viewing outside. We changed the programming on the ship to let people take advantage of the fact that the sun rises at 4 a.m. So we have a 5:30 rave on the pool deck.
Y'all violent,
right?
Y'all violent.
We also gave people the opportunity to indulge in new eatery opportunities. We have a group of people on the ship called the Happenings Cast, and we added to that cast to have cultural narrative. We wanted people to understand who they were visiting when they got off the ship. What were the wildlife interactions that they were going to have, and how could that affect them? How can they help participate in conserving the place that they were going to go visit? So I actually think for us, we think of that piece of metal as really malleable, and what's going on inside, something that's constantly evolving and changing. And it's informed by the people who are sailing with us, right? We listen to the fact that, for example, there's lots of people who don't want to drink alcohol anymore, but they still want a really well-crafted beverage. And so in every eatery we have on board, we have a low alcohol and no alcohol set of cocktails that you can order. And they're still beautiful and really delicious, but it doesn't have to involve alcohol for you to feel good.
The mocktails are clutch. They're
Yeah,
clutch. I don't
absolutely.
drink, so I'm here for the mocktails.
And they have a great margin.
There it is. Exactly. Jonathan, talk to us.
For us, we have no choice but to be more agile.
Yeah.
And it genuinely means we've had to change the way we've operated inside the company. And we've looked at this through how we look at our clients. For a long time, we looked at all of our clients and we talked to all of our clients the same way.
Yeah.
Whether you spent $1 million with us for 20 years, a year, $1 million a year for 20 years, or you spent nothing.
Yeah.
And being more agile means we've got to go look at clients where they are, prospective clients where they are, and meet them where they are, and make sure everybody in the organization is outcome focused. And how do we create agile work environments, agile teams running in sprints that genuinely can go tackle issues and they get surfaced up quickly? We just keep hammering through. Bringing everybody together, giving transparency, and that's the way we're moving the needle. Because we're 300,000 person company. It takes a while to move that full ship.
I saw what you just did there. It takes a lot for the ship to move. You see that?
We love a
clever.
pun.
People say I'm slow.
That's very clever. That's very clever. So, Carmelo, one would argue that you got a bit of the cheat code. That like being in sport, you're already a part of a cultural production. The people you surround yourself with, Mero, you got Kaz, like you surround yourself with people who are constantly contributing to the cultural discourse, to the cultural production. But how do you operationalize that? So when a client comes to you and says, hey, I love what you do with the podcast. Hey, I love what you do with these media properties. How do you decide that this is the right client for you such that you can help them move in the right direction in an agile way?
Well, it's three principles that I usually kind of operate just personally, and is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, right? The knowledge is knowing the brand. So if I know the brand, if I know what you're thinking and you're aligned with me, then now we can go. The wisdom is being wise enough to know when to go, how fast to go, and the speed, when to stop, when to pivot, right? So now the understanding in all of that becomes, maybe I got to sit this one out. Maybe I shouldn't do it right now. Even though I'm going, maybe I should sit this one out. Maybe I should wait down the line for the right timing on it. So when you have those three principles, it allows you to just put everything in one of those buckets. So to me, it simplifies a lot of things when it comes to identifying brands that we actually want to work with. And we sit down and we talk about branding, and we talk about what you want to do. We look at data, like we really focus on where you want to go and your consumer, what do they really want? But also you coming to us because you looking for something very specific in what we do. So we're going to give you our skill set and what we do. And then we do content, right? So we do branded content. And now we're talking about storytelling and telling more in-depth stories about the actual company or the brand, as opposed to just talking about the product and being product facing, forward facing brand. We do all of that, and we sit down and we really go through the whole gamut of really identifying who you are as a brand. And it's fun for me and my team to sit down and talk to these brands, because we're learning too as we go along. We're learning at a rapid pace with the speed of culture the way it is.
Yeah.
We just trying to figure out speed and not trends, right? When no trends for me. I don't want trends. I don't want to follow the trends. I want to be intentional on what we do, and I want to go fast to get to where I want to go, but I really want to be intentional on who we work with and what we do.
Quietly, Carmelo just dropped scripture for you. Just quietly. It's like, in all you're getting, get knowledge, but in your knowledge, get wisdom, but in all your wisdom, get understanding. I saw what you did there. I saw what you did there. I saw what you did there. But you raised an interesting point, though, because one would say that, like, man, like, you are cool, and therefore you know culture. And many times marketers have done that. They go into a brand, a stodgy brand, and go, you don't know what's cool. We know the trends. You know whatever. Just shut up and listen to us. People have made a whole career out of this. Naming no names, but I'm looking at you. But you made an important point that you actually use data to help inform these things. Not all data is helpful in doing this. So I'm curious to hear from you, Angie, Billy, Jonathan. How are you leveraging data to get to these real truths to help get understanding, not just information, knowledge, not just wisdom, discernment, but also understanding?
I think data can be debilitating if you don't really know what you're looking at the data for in the first place. And I know I just met you today, but I think that your business model and what you're doing works because you are authentic and you're bringing that out in the people that you talk to. And
Don't gas him up too much. You don't need that.
Well, no, I mean, like, I could feel it in what he's saying, and it's, only been a few minutes, but I think like that data is important, but it can also be debilitating because I think marketing and culture is a little bit about gut. And it's about meeting people where they are right now. And your data might tell you where they were last month, but right now they're in a crisis and we need to do something about it and not let it debilitate us.
I mean, and gut is a form of data. It's instinct from experience.
Yeah.
But I imagine if I go to IBM and go, my gut data tells me X, Y, and Z. Are you buying that?
We're looking at it as one of the inputs.
Okay, I like that. Talk to me.
Sure.
Talk to me. Educate us.
Because I mean, we're looking at data, and you're right. Data can be old. It can be stale by an hour, a week, a month, a year, whatever it is. And without doing a commercial for a new product, new company we just bought, you can get live data, which really can help you get a better understanding. But fundamentally, we use data as we use one source of data across the company to make sure we're all aligned. Because as marketers, we all know the first time we walk into a meeting and sales has one set of numbers and marketing has another set of numbers, the CEO is going to look at the salesperson and say, yours are correct, right? So we have one source of truth across the entire company, which everybody it's permissioned at the right levels, but everybody on the leadership team or on the operating team that I sit on, they can see what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But there is a gut that comes to say, am I better off doing something with brand innovators or Joe's beach cabana down there? Like the data, you can get the data, but then you also have to know the people, and that all feeds in. So we're very heavy push on the data, but the gut is there as well.
So that's the wisdom and understanding part, right? Discernment and meaning making.
We did a deal. Yeah, I mean, we did a deal with UFC to partner with UFC, and people looked at me like I was crazy. IBM and the UFC, even the UFC, the head of revenue at UFC said when IBM came in, that gave us new bona fides with people. It made perfect sense for the business, but I also had to have my gut and go, can we get through any blowback that there might be?
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, we can. And we can rationalize it easily.
Yeah.
And
So-
I love that we did it.
I mean, we can't talk about data without talking about the buzzword du jour, AI. And Billy, you all have integrated a lot of AI into the work you all are doing. So tell us a bit about how that data is not only informing how you leverage discernment, make meaning, but also be agile through the experiences that you're able to curate.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting time to be a marketer, especially in a world where if you have the right access to data, which is super important, you can turn something that used to be weaponized against you, which is often like, I would go into a meeting and, to use a phrase that my boss coined, we were responsible for the shapes and colors. But we were not the people you would come to for like a financial analysis or like, how are we deciding the ROI on this campaign? Like, that wasn't our gig.
Yeah.
But that was because that's not what I spent my career, time, and energy becoming an expert on.
Yeah.
But now I have the world's smartest versions of each of those things in my pocket.
Yeah.
And so as I'm starting to think about a concept or coming to the idea of a campaign, I can go through the motions with an expert financial analysis, an expert synthetic audience. I can have all the questions answered that I know I'm going to get asked in the room ahead of time. And I can overcome the objections that are inevitably going to come my way before they even get the chance to open their mouth. And so I think it's, for me, an opportunity to show that the technology is evolving so rapidly, but when you integrate it in a way that overcomes some of the hurdles or the friction points you might have as a professional, it can be something that supercharges you and accelerates you into the way to do things in a really new and interesting way.
I mean, what Billy is essentially talking about is sort of contingencies that we should be thinking about. These are sort of the different variables in the multivariable calculus that could go wrong that we need to be planning for. But Angie, like, you work in experiences, so like there's just a certain touch that you have to have that like the AI doesn't close the gap on, right?
But that's the nice part about this is AI is a really smart reflection of the past.
Correct. Yes.
But AI is never going to be a tastemaker. It's never going to be the thing that people want to buy into because they believe that they want to be part of it, right? But it can actually empower you into places that you're not an expert in, right? Like, I spent a lot of time and energy thinking about like, what is going to bring inert value to Virgin Voyages as a company?
Yeah.
And what can I bring to the table that is really gonna push us to the next level? But then there are things that like I don't have the time and energy to spend my time on. And so I use the AI to help me overcome some of those barriers.
Yeah.
But it's also like, we've all sat in a boardroom across from the people who make the decision, right? We have a team of executive stakeholders. No matter where you are in the C-suite chain, you always have a boss. And so
the bosses have a boss.
Yeah, like
or
I have a
directors.
synthetic Enro that my boss calls himself Enro. So I have a synthetic version of him that anytime I'm gonna put something in front of him for the first time, I run it through the synthetic version to help poke the holes and make it better. It galvanizes the idea. So it's just about how you're applying it, right?
Yeah. So Angie, how do we maintain the humanity in this? Because I mean, everything we talked about, from being able to identify points of friction, being able to provide opportunities, being able to know who these people are, like there's a certain texture and context that only humanity can sort of capture in a world where we have more data and tools to help us close the gap on the unknown. There's still that one last quarter of an inch that makes the difference between what feels like, oh yeah, that's good, and like, that's super whack. Why the hell would you ever do this? How do you ensure that you as a leader in the organization practice this, but perhaps more importantly, that you're propagating this throughout the organization so everyone keeps that close proximity to culture?
How much time do you have?
We had about
so
10 minutes.
I have so many thoughts on this, but I'll try to net it out to a couple. I think first, AI sucks without the human knowing how to use it. And I think that the human capital hasn't risen at the same speed, if you will, that AI has. And I think like I could use my chat GPT that I call magic and ask them about the experience at Cannes, but it's never going to replicate what's happening here in this room. So I'm actually not worried about that on any level at all, but I do know that it makes me more informed and smarter before I sit at the table. But again, it's only as good as the people using it. And I think that like at the end of the day, experiences in real life are creating long tail, memorable moments and lasting impact with brands where something digital or in the world of AI can never replicate that. And I truly believe it never will.
Amen. Amen. Okay. So we're getting like close towards the end. So I want to ask sort of some like takeaway questions that provide provocations that get us talking after the panel. So I'll start with you on this one, Mello. Like you're like relatively new to this world. Welcome to the world of brand marketing.
Absolutely.
Welcome, right? The water is fine. Get on in. So you're in here, right? But I imagine you have a perspective that we don't, because we've been so close to it our entire careers, some longer than others, our entire careers. You have a perspective with fresh eyes. What do you see that's working well that we're doing as marketers? And what are things where you like, yo, fam, you got to dead this now? And look, you don't have to share anything proprietary like your own way in, but just kind of broad strokes as an outsider looking in like, y'all doing this? This is crazy.
So first of all, thank you for welcoming me into the world of,
Yes,
of
sir.
brand marketing. But also from my experience, right? I was the face of the narrative for 2 decades, right? I was the storyline of the narrative where people had to pick and choose which way to take that narrative and what to do with that narrative. So now I have all of that experience by default, right? Learning how to navigate narratives, learning how to get out of it, learning how to step away from it, learning how to use speed, right? I had to learn that, and I have 20 years of that as an athlete. Now I'm on the outside of that. I have a very keen comprehension on how to deal with athletes and what not to do with athletes, right? Because most of the athletes operate the same way.
Yeah.
So when you understand that, you're able to kind of take that athlete and kind of dissect that athlete when you have that experience, because you know what to do, what not to do.
That's right.
How to go about it, what this person likes to do, what he don't like to do. So that data that I've generated for 20 years, I'm able to come into this side of the game and utilize that type of data. So it allows me to have fun with going back and talking to athletes and say, hey man, look, I see this for you. You may not believe it, but I see this for you, and I feel like this is how it should be. You could take it or leave it, but if you want to work on it, we can build it out together. So that's where I stand. That's where the authenticity comes from. But I also have proof of concept because I've done it with my own brands. Right?
Yeah.
I started with myself. I started with my own brand. So now I can go out there and be forward-facing to the brands now, as opposed to building behind the scenes for my own personal thing.
So maybe we can benefit from some more perspective outside of our own.
I think perspective, but I also think, again, knowing who you spending your dollars with, right?
Yeah.
I think for me, it's like knowing who you spending your money with, because there's a lot of people who are great at what they do, and there's a lot of people who just want to get the bag. So you have to differentiate who just wants the bag and who is really great at what they do. And those lines get blurred. And when you see that, it kind of make you look at the brand a certain way, because why would you give that person that bag knowing that he don't really understand your brand? So he's just going out there giving his own perspective on how your brand should be going. It's a fine line. It's a blurred line with that now.
Hey, Jonathan, you mentioned Hidden Valley Ranch with the TSA approved packets of ranch. I think about CeraVe and the Kevin Durant spot. Like Kevin Durant has historically been known for having ashy legs. And CeraVe is like, we can help him, we can help anybody, right? And those who are part of that cultural discourse, they're in on the joke, right? Proximity helps them do that. what are we doing well as marketers in this ever-changing world that Billy's talked about? And what do we need to do better?
I think that we're doing a good job of telling our stories,
Okay.
but I don't think we're all differentiating enough to really let people understand what we're doing and why we're there and why they should want to engage with us. I think there's some companies that do it really well, but by and large, I think we could all get a lot better there. And then I think the big shift that is coming, and you and I talked about this earlier, is everybody talks about personalized content. And personalized content is a waste of time, if you ask me. It's got to be personalized and it's got to be relevant. And if it's not, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your money, and the ability to scale that up. And, you know, I used to work in the car business, and it was right car, right place, right time. That's what marketers, we have to do a lot better at: the right content to the right person through the right channel at the right time.
So it's not just personalization, it's the meaning that comes from the context of that person, such that the messages are relevant for the person.
100%.
Yeah. All right, Angie, what are we doing well? What do we got to do better? Give you the microphone.
It's warm up here. I think what we're doing well is being nimble.
Okay.
I think what we need to do better, sort of to tie into what you've said, because I so connect to the authenticity part, is we keep repeating the really sexy, cool things and they don't land. They might land with a new brand, but they're not going to land for everyone. And I have clients all the time who go to an event and say, oh, I got to do what Dreamforce did, or, you know, what Adobe Max did at their last conference, but it's not authentic to what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we got to quit following just the trend and sexy stuff. We got to do the authentic choice.
I mean, this gets back to knowing who you are. Like, trends may be trendy, but they may not be the thing for you, right? Right. Billy, what are we doing well? What do we need to do better?
I think I'll start with what we need to do better. And that's stop using your logo or the colors of your company as your brand. That's not your brand, right? Your brand is how you make somebody feel.
Yeah.
Or the belonging into a community that you've helped set up a framework for and that you're also a participant in.
Yeah.
But I think we've struggled to, and I think this comes from having to bring other people who aren't maybe in this world along for the ride. You say brand and they immediately think of your brand kit.
Yeah.
But it's actually not. That is one thing in the whole toolkit into this world that we're building. I think something that we are doing well is we're still talking to each other, right? I think as a community, marketers and people who are in the advertising industry like to get together and discuss what else we can do. How can we advocate to have better personalization that is relevant? How can we actually create incredible, beautiful stories that people want to see?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the best parts about being a marketer, especially today, right? Like, we're in the most beautiful place in the world and we're all together talking about the thing that we love doing. So I do think that's one of the nice parts about our industry is we like to get together and maybe have some rosé, but also talk about the work.
Yeah, we're a bit of a like therapy industry. We do therapy for each other.
Sometimes we do too much of it, though.
That's fair. That's totally fair. All right. So in the few moments that we have left, I would love for each of you to leave this brilliant group of people with a provocation, considering everything we talked about, the importance of marketing, the importance of culture for marketing, what it means for us, how we move at the speed of this operating system we call culture. What do they need to do? They hear it, they like, bet, got it. Be who you are, got it. Bet, be agile, got it. Be authentic, cool, great, awesome. What do? They get home from Cannes, a little hungover on Monday. What do they do to bring this into the office? Jonathan, go.
Invest in your teams. Your teams need, like, you're talking about a shift in the way people work. You're talking about a different set of tools that people need to use. And you can't take it for granted that they know how to do it. And it starts with the fundamental of asking a question. Because we talk about AI and data, but really it's the insights that the AI is going to deliver from the data. And that all starts with the question and how you ask that question. A question with context, a question with intent. That's where you need to go. You got to invest with your teams. Make sure they know how to do that as a first step.
As we say in Michigan, the team, the team, the team. Angie,
We
talk
say
to me.
Wisconsin.
Come on.
Well, we only get one chance to make a first impression. So I always like to say, let's embrace owning every moment and making it last.
I love it. Billy.
I think for me, it's let the people who are doing the work at your company talk to your customers, right? Like we have panels, we have, marketing focus groups, but actually giving the people who are doing the work the opportunity to engage with the people giving the company money is a great way to unlock what's possible. And it's often those ideas that are the most rich and what can produce a step change in what your company could do.
The literature tells us that the only way to study culture is through ethnographic means. So you got to get in there. You got to get close. Mello, take us home. One thing you give the people.
I think I said it earlier. Just for me, is simple. 1 + 2 = 3, right? Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. You can't know if you're not wise, and you can't be wise if you don't understand. So all of that goes together. So you have to understand and have a deep comprehension on where you want to go and how fast you want to move.
And let the church say amen. Mello, Billy, Angie, Jonathan, thank you so very much. And thank you all for letting us be with you.
Thank you,
Mark. Peace.
Thanks, guys.